You are standing in a field, no fence, no sign, no line painted on the grass. But take one more step and you could be arrested, taxed, even shot at. That invisible step is called a border. The soil doesn't change. The air doesn't change. A bird flying overhead doesn't even notice. But somehow, humans decided this side belongs to one group, and that side belongs to another. So how did we get here? How did apes who once just wandered around looking for berries end up inventing something as strange, as powerful, and as deadly as a country? Let's go back to the beginning. For most of human history, there were no countries, no passports, no flags, just small bands of people, maybe 50 of them hunting and moving together. Your nation was your family. Your government was whoever was strongest around the campfire. Then humans discovered farming, and that one invention broke everything open. Once you can grow food instead of chasing it, you don't need to move anymore. You can stay. And the moment you stay, something new becomes possible. Ownership. That patch of wheat is yours now. That river is yours. And the moment something is worth keeping, it's also worth fighting over. Villages grew into towns. Towns grew into cities. And cramming thousands of strangers together created a problem nobody had faced before. Chaos. So humans invented leaders, kings, priests, councils. Someone had to decide who eats first and who gets punished. And just like that, without anyone planning it, the first shadow of a country was born. But here's the twist almost nobody tells you. Ancient kingdoms weren't really about land. They were about loyalty to a person. If you swore loyalty to a king, you belonged to his kingdom, even from 100 miles away. Two villages sitting right next to each other could answer to two totally different rulers. Borders were blurry, overlapping, messy. So if ancient kingdoms didn't look like the neat little boxes on our maps today, where did that idea actually come from? The answer traces back to one exhausted room in Europe in the year 1648. Picture this. Decades of brutal war had just ended. Exhausted leaders sat down, desperate for it to never happen again. And they agreed on one radical rule. Every ruler controls what's inside their own borders, completely. And no other ruler gets to interfere. For the first time ever, land wasn't just whoever's loyal to me. It was a fixed box on a map with a locked door. That single idea, born out of exhaustion and war, became the blueprint for basically every country you've ever heard of. But knowing where borders came from doesn't explain the weirdest part. Why do people cry during their national anthem? Why will someone die defending a flag, which is just colored fabric? Why do millions of strangers who will never meet, never even see each other's faces, feel like family? Here's the wild part. That feeling isn't natural. It was built. Think about it like this. You've met maybe a few thousand people in your entire life, yet you feel connected to millions of your fellow citizens you'll never meet. So why does that emotional bond exist at all? A political scientist named Benedict Anderson spent years studying exactly this question, and his answer became one of the most famous ideas in modern history. He called a nation an imagined community. Not fake, imagined. Because that sense of belonging was manufactured on purpose through shared language, shared schools, shared newspapers, shared songs, and symbols. Humans didn't just draw a line on a map. They built an entire emotional universe inside it. And once enough people believed in that invented identity, it became just as real, just as powerful as any mountain or ocean. A flag is fabric. An anthem is a tune. A passport is paper. None of it exists in nature, and yet humans die for it. Now here's where the story turns dark. Not every border was built slowly, out of shared culture and belonging. Some were drawn in an afternoon by strangers with a ruler and a pen. Colonial mapmakers carved straight lines across entire continents, splitting families who'd lived side by side for centuries, while jamming together rival groups who'd never chosen to be one nation at all. Picture two men separated overnight by a line drawn thousands of miles away by someone who had never even seen their village. That single afternoon of pen strokes is still causing real conflict today. Borders that feel unnatural, because they are. So every line on a map is actually telling you two stories at once. One is official, treaties, wars, political deals. The other is emotional. Who gets to say, this is my home, and who gets left outside the line? And that raises the strangest question of all. If humans invented this, does it ever stop changing? Not even close. In just the last 100 years, the world map has been redrawn again and again. Empires collapsed, new nations were born overnight, old ones vanished completely. The permanent lines on your map right now are just the current draft, not the final original one, which means the real force holding every country together was never a king or an army or even a government. It's imagination. Humans are the only species on Earth that can stare at empty land, draw an invisible line across it, and convince millions of strangers across hundreds of years to believe in that line so deeply they'll die defending it. That's not just history. That might be one of the strangest, most powerful tricks our species has ever pulled on itself. So next time someone tells you a country is just land, you'll know better. A country is a story, a shared belief, an enormous invisible agreement between strangers who decided together to imagine themselves as one people. And once you see that, you can never look at a map the same way again. If this changed how you see the world, hit like, tell me in the comments which country's story surprised you most, and subscribe, because next time we're breaking down another everyday idea you've never actually questioned.